Hello and welcome to the space. My name is Dalia Quintanilla. I am a revolutionary educator. I am a liberated learner. I am a somatic movement guide. I am a dog mama. I am a walker amongst the trees and a watcher of the stars. And I am of the Raramuri lineage on my mother's side of Chihuahua, Mexico, the Grand Copper Canyon. And then on my father's side, my paternal lineage comes from Tejano, Tex-Mex lineage in Texas and Mexico. And I am honored to bring all of me into this space. I offer you space to bring all of you and to check in with where you are at in this moment to receive this learning around the model. So let's tap right on in. Here is the model. Take a moment to let this sink in. Here we have a learning model that grounds us into how Indigenous education can be expressed in our learning and living spaces. We have the 4 pillars in the center that ground in the pedagogical framework and ways of being that help create a healthy ecosystem of relationship in which learning can even occur. We have relational ecology, which is the Indigenous understanding that we are in a web of life. We are connected by all our relations, as the Dene say. We have restorative culture, where we practice and acknowledge where humans are at this moment, present moment in time, and meeting the need of where they are right now. We acknowledge and recognize the massive amounts of harm that have occurred and continue to occur, and we address those cycles of harm by disrupting them with restorative culture, by disrupting them with ways of being that offer restoration, that offer space, that offer time, that offer dialogue, that is nonviolent, to allow us to unfold into the process of being human as we navigate conflict and repair conflict and learn from conflict. We have reciprocal belonging below restorative culture, which is the holding of us all. We belong to nature as nature belongs to us. We belong to each other as we belong to ourselves. There is a deep reciprocity that happens as we inhale and exhale. This is part of how life is designed. And so when we honor this within the learning environment, we see how the positionality and power structures that we've set up in traditional schooling models are completely irrelevant and don't make sense, because yes, the teacher is the adult in the room, but they're also the student. And so the model invites us into rethinking about the positionality as teacher and authority to more of teacher as a guide or facilitator or space holder of liberated learning process. And then we have embodied learning. Embodied learning is the knowing, the understanding that we learn not just in our mind, but in our bodies. Learning happens first in the body. We can think of the body as always learning and sponging in our environment through our senses, through our sight, our sound, our touch, our taste. We experience over 11 million bits of sensory information per second. We are always learning. What we are learning in our environment, however, is a different story. When we think about the traditional schooling setting where bodies are forced to stay still, where natural expression and authenticity is shamed and punished, and we are only tailoring to a certain kind of learning experience that only certain students can navigate, we are totally missing the body. And so embodied learning brings us back into the grounding, the practical of how learning actually happens, which is from the inside out, and honoring our nervous system states, especially where we are today. So those are our pillars in the middle. Allow yourself to deepen into them and explore them in your own way. Journal about how they relate to each other, what makes you curious about them, and how you see them applying to your context. So I invite you into that inquiry for yourself. And we'll move around the pillars now and move into the learning spiral, which is around the pillars. We're always going through learning spirals, whether we are consciously aware of it or not. Some of us go through repetitive learning spirals where we'll repeat the same lessons and learnings and explorations over and over and over again, and not ever move into the higher cognitive thinking realm of the learning spiral, which is the reflection and the sharing. When we allow ourselves to reflect, we're allowing that next level of learning to come through, and also in the other parts of the learning spiral. But yet that's to say the unconscious way of experiencing it. To experience a learning spiral consciously, we are bringing our attention, our focus, awareness to, hey, I'm a lifelong learner. And this is something that we might not have been given from colonized schooling. We might not have the identity that I'm a lifelong learner. And if that is you, I invite you into reclaiming that for yourself, because learning is the way that we evolve. Learning is the way that we find purpose and meaning and creativity in this life. Learning is the vehicle for expression. The way that we are able to write and translate our words onto paper is art. The way that we're able to read other people's writings and let them hit our soul and move our soul, our body, to change the way we live our lives is profound. That's part of the web that we're in. And so it is always happening. We are lifelong learners, whether we are consciously aware of it or not. So let's be consciously aware of it and choose for ourselves what it is we want to spend our time with. Our time is our most valuable resource. And especially for a child in development, allowing them to explore these phases can really help them deepen into who they are, which will help strengthen their self-concept, which will help strengthen their feeling of purpose and mission and service. We start with an inquiry, a question, a curiosity, an interest, and we allow this to be a natural process. In Indigenous education, there is a understanding of how slow pedagogy, of how observation and just allowing space to teach us is part of the learning experience. So in the inquiry space, we allow there to be space. We allow there to be exploration. Maybe there already is a bubbling inquiry or something that you're curious about. And let's as we dig into the learning spiral, let's not do the teacher, parent, facilitator thing where we think about how we're going to teach this immediately. Let's actually feel into this for ourselves, and let's see how it applies and feels into our bodies as learners, and then move from that place. Okay, so slow, beautiful, intentional steps as we digest this medicine. Inquiry. What is it that is lighting you up these days? What are the questions that really make you curious? What is on your heart? What makes your soul light up? What topics and new fields of study would you like to learn about? Allow yourself to be broad or very specific. The learning spiral can hold it all. And then once we have that inquiry and we've felt into that place of, what is that next place that I'm like interested in digging into and feeling into and giving my time to, we allow ourselves to explore. Maybe we don't have it quite yet, but we give ourselves space to explore the topic, to research it, to ask questions about it, to have conversations about it, to see what's here for us. And then we move into a more structured practice with it. So maybe the inquiry was around my anxiety. Why am I so anxious? Why am I so overwhelmed? And then I'm like, okay, let me sit with this. Let me talk to my therapist about it, who's uncolonizing themselves. Let me do a little exploration and see what people are saying about anxiety. Like, what is this energy? How can I move through it? Okay. And then I land on a breathing practice that I try and in my exploration, and it helps me. That becomes the practice. Now, instead of continuing to be in this endless, I need more and I need more content, I need more content, I need more learning, I need more learning. This is usually where we stop. We have been taught and normalized in our society to stop at the exploration phase. Just like that's why we have the bookmarks full of ideas and practices that we never touch. I do it too. But if we shifted more into the practice state, okay, you know what? This one breath really does it for me. When I inhale in through my nose and I exhale out, straw lips, and I let my shoulders sink and I just sit with my breath for 5 counts, for 5 rounds. Something magical happens. My anxiety lessens. I feel more in my body. That's the practice. And I return to this practice. Return, 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 return. It takes 3,000 repetitions for something to become embodied. 3,000. So we put in our 3,000 reps, returning to that breath, right? And it doesn't have to be that extensive. The practice could be just coming to it a few times and then going to the reflection space. Wow. What happens when I do this breathing? What did I notice and shifted in myself before I responded to someone, before I sat down to work? And then we share. And then I get my phone and I pull out TikTok and I say, y'all, I've had the craziest anxiety for years. And finding this breath has literally saved my life and changed the game for me. I'm no longer struggling with anxiety as bad as I was. You should try. Post, share, boom. And it doesn't always have to be that as the sharing method. It could be you share in a group chat, you share on stage, you share, but it has to be from an internal, for it to be the sharing phase, to the external, to allowing others in the community around you to benefit from your learning. That's the point with the sharing. The learning spiral is a really powerful way to start to reorganize how we do learning. So I encourage you to frame your lesson plannings around this. I encourage you to download the free guide I have on liberatedlearning.org, where you can dig more into the learning spiral, practice one, try one out, see the templates, see the different examples of how they can be structured and how we can play with this framework that helps really meaningful learning come through. There will also be more resources to come and curriculum to come that is grounded within the learning spiral, and that takes us continuously through these processes where we are re-indigenizing education in the way that we're learning. So look out for those resources as well. Cool. So we've talked about the pillars, we've talked about learning spirals. I'm curious how you're feeling right now. What's coming up for you? How do you see learning spirals impacting you? Now, let's finish by tapping into what we see around all of this. So, on the outside of the model, you see our planets and our stars. It's our solar system. In our planets, we have our facilitators, those who are guiding learning space. We have land that teaches us everything we need to know. We have families that are units of relational bonds that we seek to nurture and be in relationship with. We have elders that carry wisdom and knowledge and that have space to share and be in community with the whole. We have our lineage, those that have come before us, those that we feel in our bones and honor with our life today, whether we are conscious of it or not. We might not be bringing honor fully, and some of us might, but they are connected to us in every moment. Of course, we have our learners, those who we are holding space for, who we are allowing space to grow and develop in these areas and not assuming that they already know what to do and how to be. Our planets are important stakeholders in the work, and we're continuously bringing our planets into mind, including them in the work and how we move forward. We are all part of these different planets in different ways, which is also a beautiful reflection with the model. So now we have our stars, our star values. So we have curiosity, unity, peace, and accountability. These values help us continue to ground in the pillars, the learning spirals, and how we engage with the work. These values help inform our policies, our practices, our structures, the ways that we set up the learning process itself. So this is, again, another invitation to deepen into those, open to your thoughts and ideas and how this is all landing and digesting within you. So that was a lot of information and still high level, still so much to deepen into with you around this. Thank you for your time and attention and learning. Would love to hear your thoughts and ideas. We are continuing to ground in the model by creating really practical practices and resources for you to utilize in your home spaces, in your learning spaces, in your relational dynamics with your children and other adults. This work really does begin with the humanizing of ourselves, of going inward and seeing how we want to show up in the web and aligning with that continuously. How do I want to show up in the web? Who am I in the web? Who are we as the web? And continuing to revisit these questions. We're going to do this in the Foundations cohort as a community. We're going to gather for 5 weeks virtually, and we are going to come back to these learnings. Each week, we will explore a pillar, and I'll offer you a learning spiral for each pillar so you can continue to feel into the framework and see how it comes to life in practice. And we'll refine the practices together. You will bring your wisdom and your experience and your knowledge. I will hold space and provide learning materials, and we will watch and see how the work wants to emerge and unravel. I am honored to guide this learning space where we are reconnecting with re-indigenized education, where we are feeling into how we can begin to bring this into our spaces in ways that don't feel like more work, but that feel like us becoming more of who we are, because we are tending to our lights. We are tending to our essence, our soul, another huge piece of what has been taken away in our society, the soul, the spirit, the essence, our light. So that is what we are bringing back to life and revitalizing and nurturing and fueling up and caring for, so that we can continue to be the change that we wish to see in the world. We can continue to show up differently, and that will begin to make the changes that we desire collectively. So if you're interested in being a part of the cohort, enrollment is open until February 28th, and we will start March 1st, Sunday, March 1st, gathering live. I'm really excited to be in community with you. If you are drawn to this work, to learn from each other, to co-create together, to continue bringing the light along so that it can grow. And once it catches that collective knowing, will grow. So share this with people who are like-minded, share this with people who are in education, who are in other fields, and who care about re-indigenizing the way that we do life. This, yes, will support educators for sure, and parents for sure, homeschoolers, unschoolers, when we're definitely in the interaction with children. And this can support just adult development, and this can support different learnings and workspaces, and how you run the HR, how you do professional development for your staff. This is a reorientation to how we relate to one another through learning. And so there are many different ways that this model can come to life. And that's what I'm really excited to see you bring into the cohort, is the contextual, how this materializes in your environment and how you're practicing it in your environment, and giving you the tools and the practices you need to do that, and then actually doing the thing and bringing it back to the space so we can talk about it and feel into it and really start to practice, reflect, share, practice, reflect, share in the learning spiral, right? Like we have the inquiries, we have the exploration, and together in the live circle space, we'll do the grounding, the somatic work. I'll bring the somatics so that we can feel into our bodies, and we'll do that practicing, that reflecting, that sharing together, and really feel the learning spiral come to life in our experience. So please look into that if you are interested. Like I said earlier, there will also be other opportunities for curriculum and resources for you to utilize in your spaces that bring the model to life. I really invite you into this being practice. The model is powerful in understanding, and there are many deep webs in each pillar within the learning spiral. This has been the dissertation of so many years of experiential learning and academia learning. And where we're at now, and where I wish to take this forward, is that we take these learnings, the theoretical understandings, and we practice something different. That we reach for a restorative way of saying something versus a punitive. That we teach a lesson, that we center the nervous system and take care of the bodies in the room, that we notice when there's wiggle. We practice. How does this look in my space? And we become an inquiry with ourselves in how we practice this and how we embody this. This is the invitation, and I want you to feel into it. Feel into it in your root. Feel into it in the central part of your body. Feel into your light. Feel how your light wants to shine through practice, through exploration, through reflection, through sharing. Okay, so let me know what questions you have. I hope this was helpful. And until next time, my loves. I'm sending love. I'm sending care. I'm sending encouragement. We got this. Deep breaths.